Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Stepmum Space Listener Questions with me, Katie South. Each week, I take one of your questions and talk it through here, sharing not only my thoughts, but yours as well. As always, everything is anonymised, but the words and experiences are real. So a massive, massive thank you to all of you who send in your questions and share your experiences. The honesty in our Stepmum Space community is what makes these mini episodes so powerful. Now, this week's question is a big one. It's something that many of my clients experience, and I know many of you will have as well. So the question is from Emma. She says, how do you deal with resentment? My stepdaughter steals, lies, and gets away with it all. My husband doesn't enforce discipline, I think because he's worried she won't want to come if he does, and the resentment in me has built up so much. So to Emma and anyone else who really connects with this question, I want to start by saying something really clearly. Resentment like this does not come from being petty. It comes from living inside a situation that feels deeply unfair. When I shared this question with other stepmums on Instagram, the replies were instant. One said, I don't deal well with resentment. I end up resenting the ex, then the kids, then my husband. It is rough. Another said simply, do any of the dads enforce discipline? And whilst it was a written message and not audio, I could hear the sarcasm dropping off the words. And many of you said exactly what this stepmom suspects. Yes, he's worried they won't come if he enforces anything. One woman shared, my husband has dealt with parental alienation from his ex, so he does have real fears about losing the kids. We had to sit down when the kids weren't there and agree what really mattered and what I could let go of. And another said something very raw. She said, I honestly would not live like that. I'd discipline her myself or I'd be out the door. I have my own child and I wouldn't want them learning that this is acceptable. Having a younger sibling watching that behaviour definitely presents us with another angle. Somebody else wrote, my stepson breaks things in our house, my toddler's toys, furniture, clothes. We find them destroyed. My husband won't make him replace anything because he says we can't prove it, so it keeps happening. It feels incredibly unfair. And that word kept coming up, unfair. Resentment is common in stepfamilies, but nobody likes to admit to it because it has a terrible reputation. People are so ashamed of saying they feel resentful. And the truth is, often noticing that feeling is a really, really useful signal that something in the system needs to change. And this is where the stepfamily lens really helps, because this is not actually about resentment. It's about what happens when parental authority quietly disappears in the home. When a biological parent parents from fear of losing the child, fear of upsetting the ex, fear of alienation, discipline often quietly disappears. Not because dad doesn't care, but because he's trying to protect the relationship at all costs. And when one adult is holding the standards and the other is avoiding them, something really painful happens for the stepmum. You stop feeling like a partner. You start feeling like the only grown-up, and you start feeling like the bad one for even noticing. And that is a perfect condition for resentment, because resentment is what grows when your values are being violated, your home doesn't feel protected, and the person who should be standing next to you isn't. It's not really about the child stealing or lying. It's about the fact that no one is holding the line. Humans cannot relax in environments where there are no boundaries, and children actually don't relax in them either. Stepfamilies need clear, calm, adult authority more than most families because the system is already fragile. And when that authority disappears, the stepmom's nervous system goes into a kind of moral alarm state. You feel constantly activated, and over time, that's what becomes resentment. Now, most stepmoms then do one of two things. Explode or swallow it and slowly harden inside. Do you recognise yourself in either of those? Well, neither works long term. What helps is not managing resentment, it's addressing what resentment is pointing to. So a few key shifts make a difference here. So first, this is not a discipline issue between you and the child, it's an alignment issue between you and your partner. The conversation should happen when the child is not there, when you're not emotionally activated, but when you're both calm. It's not, she's awful, she steals and lies, but I don't feel like we're holding the line in our home and it's having a real impact on me. Second, you decide together what actually matters. Not everything, just the core things that hit your values. Stealing, lying, destroying property, disrespect, whatever it might be for you. Agree to the non-negotiables and agree that he holds them. Because when a stepmom has to do this in this environment, she very quickly becomes the one everyone reacts to instead of the behaviour itself. Thirdly, understand his fear without letting it run the house. Children do not stop coming because of calm, loving boundaries. They often feel safer because of them. It's chaos and unpredictability that pushes children away, not structure. And remember, you can only control what happens in your home, and alienation often happens because of the behaviour of the other parent in their home. Fourth, you genuinely do choose what you let go of, not because it's fine, but because you can't hold every line without burning out. One stepmom framed it like this: the things I said I'd let go of, I really had to let go of. Now, obviously, things like this only work if you're both on the same page. So a really practical thing that you can do together is not just have the conversation, but actually write it down so you're both clear and you're aligned, almost like a page you can come back to when things wobble. So you can put it in a journal, fill it out together, and list these. So 1, what actually matters in our home? 2, what do we agree are non-negotiables? 3, who holds the line? And be really clear on this one. Who's responsible for addressing it when it happens? As much as is possible, let it be dad. 4, will there be a consequence? So, for example, if stealing happens, what's the consequence? If lying happens, what's the consequence, etc. Decide it now, not in the moment. Make sure that you're both in agreement. 5, how will we address it? Words will be used with the child. What tone? What does calm and firm actually look like to both of you? You might have a very different interpretation of what those words mean. Make sure you're aligned on it. 6, what are you choosing to let go of? You're really going to have to consciously decide not to carry it, even if it's something that you care about, because you cannot carry everything by yourself. And 7, what do we want our home to feel like? You can use your own words, but I suggest considering words like respectful, safe, kind. And this isn't about being strict, it's about being clear. That's the real difference. And when you're clear together, it takes so much of the emotional weight off you because you don't have to carry this alone. I've popped this into a 1-page journal sheet you can sit down and fill out together. So if you'd like a copy, DM me the word journal on Instagram and I will send it over to you. So if any of this feels familiar, it's not because you're too harsh, too strict, too over the top. It's because trying to live in a house where no one is really holding the line is exhausting, properly exhausting. And after a while, that exhaustion is what turns into resentment. This is not about you needing to be more relaxed, more easygoing, or less bothered. It's about the adults getting things back to a place where home feels steadier and clearer again, and you can rely on one another. Because when that happens, you don't have to work so hard to not feel resentful. It just eases. Thank you so much to everyone who shared their experiences for this one. I hope it's helpful and I would love to hear how you get on. If you've got a listener question you'd like me to cover, you can DM me at stepmumspace or email me katie@stepmumspace.com. And if you'd like some personal support from me, please head to stepmumspace.com to arrange your free clarity call or search Stepmum Space Clarity Call. I'll be back next week with another listener question. Till then, take care.